Hey, welcome to Paranormal Into the Night. We are going to talk Bigfoot with Edie and Martin. This is going to be fun. Lots of interesting stories. So, intro, go.
Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Paranormal Into the Night. I am Dino, as always, right here on the Late Late Horror Show YouTube channel. We got a guest that I've talked to 8 years ago, Edie Billhimer. And we started talking about a gifting site, Bigfoot, and all that. It is a long relationship. Can't wait to get into that and talk to her. So, hi, Edie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And she brought along Martin Lotsberg. I think I got that right.
Yeah.
His YouTube channel is called Camping with Sasquatch. And he kind of took over Edie's camping site where there is this family of Bigfoot that she was gifting for many years. Lots of stories. And man, I've interviewed you about 5 times, Edie. And, so many things. But a lot of new people here. So, we're going to kind of, go over everything and then go into Martin's experiences and stuff like that. But let me say real quick, and Martin is in his vehicle. Yes, he's out and about, right, Martin?
Yes, sir.
Yes, living the dream, looking for Bigfoot. Connie Cleary, hello, welcome. Mercurius, I believe that's how you say it. Welcome, first time here. Jimmy D, what's going on? Edward Stewart. Let me get through these. Not a lot of people here yet. Leafy Nebula is here. Emily Thompson. Good to see each and every one of you guys here. Okay, so before we get into Edie and her gifting site and where this all started, and Martin taking it over and all that, there was something Martin said right before we went on air, and everybody has different ideas on what Bigfoot is. Is it something from our past that has managed to survive in the woods? Is it something like that? Is it interdimensional? Is it something altogether different? I don't know. But he had a story. He said he was by a Bigfoot. I don't know. This was a picture, or you could say it better than me. Bigfoot cloaked right next to me. Martin, tell me about that real quick, and then I have a question for you.
Sure. I have not told too many people about this because it's a little strange. But
Well, I appreciate you opening up. And listen, nothing is off limits in the strange, the bizarre. I've talked to these people many, many times on this channel that just because it sounds bizarre does not mean it didn't happen. Okay.
Right.
I mean, again, I say this all the time. Look up in the sky. We're just a little speck. How can you not believe that strange and bizarre things could happen? But anyways, go ahead. Talk to, and lots of new people. Panic Penguin, Lulu Bell, Sweet Indigo, WTF Horror and Sci-Fi. Good to see everybody here. Ruben Franco. Okay, go ahead, Martin.
I actually didn't notice this in person, but I was filming. Something I would do is film gifting and stuff, and I would send it to Edie. And this one day I noticed an object. It was like a box for graham crackers, I believe, in a different location, right near the site, but sort of on the way down sort of a bottom of a creek. And I just walked over, and when I went back and watched the footage, I was just kind of filming the ground, sort of, and I just noticed this sort of almost like glitch in the camera, and I slowed it down, and it was just a split second. I slowed it down to 0.10 speed, and you can just see this. I mean, I can only describe it as like a cloaked being or cloaked something just whizzed by really fast. There was a sound that went with it too that you could hear, especially when you slowed it down. I sent it to Edie and said, "What do you think of this?" And she said something like, I almost feel like that was a Bigfoot because you could even see the fur color, and that's the color of their fur." And
Yeah, you could see it. You could actually see just a split second of fur.
yeah,
Like it was there and it was gone.
yep,
Well, so there you go. Bizarre, whatever.
yeah,
Again, I almost tend to go towards thinking, after all the stories that I've heard, and we haven't caught anything really. We've got plenty of evidence like hair and stuff like that. But do we have a Bigfoot? Is it concrete yet? No, not really. A lot of people say the evidence behind it, like the hair samples and everything we come across, the howls, knockings, all of that good stuff. And eyewitness reports, we can't just throw those out the door, because eyewitness reports from credible people, it means something. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
but I tend to think it might be somewhat interdimensional. I mean, we've got tracks that stop and they're just gone. Where did they go? You know what I mean? In snow and mud. So, there might be an interdimensional thing going on there. But I like your take on it, since you said this story and this happened to you. What do you think a Bigfoot is, Martin?
man, great question. I've heard a lot of different speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Where I currently am is I feel as if they're similar to us, and a possibility that might explain some of the things that I guess would be weird. Possibly, I mean, big question mark from my end is what would they say we use 10% of our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what would happen if we just ate in the forest all the time? And a topic I like is grounding, when you bare feet on the ground, connect with the earth. And like, are they using 50, 60, 70, 80% of their brain? One thing I'm certain of is they're intelligent. And I mean, my experience, and I'll agree with, I know Edie's felt the same, as they're caring. They're thoughtful. And, but what they are, I've heard Nephilim, alien. I've heard they're the first people on Earth and we're the aliens because we don't have hair in our bodies.
Right.
But I just think similar to us. And as far as origins, I don't know. I mean, are they from Earth? I've heard that. Are they not from Earth? I don't know. But
interdimensional possibility? Yeah, I mean, is that theory there in your mind a little bit, or?
I don't understand what that means exactly, but it is somewhat a possibility.
Interdimensional. It's just a different dimension. Get a different vibrational frequency on this planet. Where they talk about Michio Kaku, people like that. Theoretical physicists talk about worm theories and string theories, where we're actually living on the same plane as other. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like Mercurius. I'm sorry, I don't know if I'm getting that quite correct. Maybe like fairies drifting in and out of fairyland. So just you know what I'm talking about there.
I do, and it's out of our typical comprehension. And I've thought sometimes, in the world, either they don't exist or there's a little more going on than we understand, I feel. And if you were to go there and speculate, maybe interdimensional or something like that, it would explain a lot. There's a lot of reports where it's almost like they arrived somewhere that they were observed, and it was like they were unfamiliar with the environment. And what is that about? I've heard things like that where it's, someone might have seen it one look around, like almost like, where am I? And, just add that to the puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got that side of things where there are Bigfoot that or single sightings that were, like I said, steps lead up in snow. They just stop. Where do they go? Are they
Right.
beamed up in a ship? Do they just move to that different frequency or that different dimension? But getting back to what you were saying, though, there are also groups of families that have lived here for many, many years. So
Mm.
there has to be another side to things, whether it's interdimensional or not, or something that's just been here forever and has stayed here. That's where we'll, I guess, get into how this all began with Edie and the gifting site. And again, Martin, you and Edie can go back and forth if something brings on a conversation or whatever. But yeah, Edie, start with the gifting site and how this all began.
Well, for the people who haven't seen me or seen one of the shows that I've done with Dino before, I was one of those people who were adamant that Bigfoot did not exist, that people were hallucinating, or just, I just thought it was ridiculous that a creature of that size could exist right under our noses. And
Stop right there. But Edie, because I've said this before. I don't think people truly understand how vast the forest is in just in North America alone.
I know,
I mean,
and if you think of it common sense wise, you know how many deer are out there, and you see deer, but how often do you see deer bones? Or it's just, if you really think about it logically, it makes sense. But I thought, these are between 8 and 12-foot creatures that are really big and everything. I just thought people were crazy, and I stepped into crazy. And
until you got a sighting, right? I mean,
it
then
was insane. We were my ex and I, we've been divorced since 2018, thank you Lord. But we were in a vehicle, we were in the forest, we were driving. It was probably about 11 o'clock at night, so there was not a whole lot of lighting or anything back there, so we had our high beams on. And we come around this curve, and all of a sudden it looked like a small animal had shot across the street. And then all of a sudden there he was, right there in the high beams, not maybe, I'd say 10-15 feet in front of the car. And he had to have been 8-9 foot tall, shoulders just enormous. We were in a Chevy little 4-door car, and he literally just was so massive it made the car look small. Big long arms. He was like bent over almost on all fours running, and kind of stood upward, looked toward the car, and just vanished into the forest. And it was one of those moments where we just kind of sat there going, what did we just see? And it literally took a couple of weeks to digest what it was we had seen, because we're in Indiana. There aren't any bears. We don't have large predators. We have some big cats here and there, but this thing was massive. So we ended up contacting Leroy and Nancy Nail. They were running the Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization. Shout out to them. And we got together. They talked to us, took our report, and said that 2 weeks prior, not a mile away, there was a similar incident. It was in the day, and the woman was literally, she was in her golf cart. She was run off the road by a Bigfoot that matched the same exact description. So from there, they explained to me, what tree structures were, and tree breaks and bends and all this other stuff. And from that moment on, I was in. I did as much research as I could do online, and I got very interested in a woman named Barb, at the time. It was Squatching with Barb and Gabby.
Yep.
And I liked the way she did things because it was a gentle way. She wasn't going out in the forest and knocking on trees and whooping and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. She was gifting, and I was so fascinated. So I contacted her and I said, "How do I do this?"
Hmm.
And she told me, and I started. And again, this was in 2013, and it took them several months before they took anything from me. And from that time on, the rest is history. I have had so many years with them. I didn't move here. I've lived here for 2 years now, so Martin took over for me not long, probably just over a year or so ago, but had many years with this clan. Um, Myself, my daughter, I've had several more sightings at this particular forest and another one, including an adult female. I found baby footprints. I've heard babies. They've left me gifts in exchange for the things I've left them. And in the beginning, I thought, okay, I'm not going to go too far out here into the woo woo. I thought they're 100% flesh and blood. That's it. Until they proved to me that there's actual mind speak. They can read your mind, and they will respond. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, yeah. First of all, 7 months. It took 7 months. How did you have the patience? I mean, but listen, you have to have patience if you're looking for Bigfoot and something that's very, very elusive. So there's people who search the jungles and the Amazon for things for decades until they eventually finally find something that's close or come across something similar. But that's a long time.
Yeah.
You never gave up and you stuck with it, and you finally found a family of Bigfoot.
Yeah, and like Barb said, it's all about trust. And at this point in time, I wasn't seeing them as intelligent creatures. I was seeing them more as animals, which a lot of people do. And over the years, they have shown me not only are they extremely intelligent, they're very emotional, they're kind, they're caring. They have shown me time and time again, coming up and checking on myself and my daughter while we were camping one night because there were gunshots.
Hmm.
And I know I told you that story
Yeah.
where I could hear him coming up the ridge, and he walked around the tent, stopped at my daughter's side and leaned in and come around to my side, got caught on the guy wire, pulled half the way the tent down, and it bounced back up and come around, and he stood at my side. And then he left and he went and checked on the only other camper that was there at the time. And I had spoken to the man that morning, and he was like, "I'm kind of scared now because I thought it was you guys. And now that I see that you're two very small women, what was walking around my tent?" And so they
Well,
are
yeah,
beyond.
I'd like to touch on the psychic part of things because that's going to be very important in talking about all of this. But gifting in general, we could talk about this. It's just you. You could say it better than me, but just putting out objects, food. You did it in like Tupperware containers
I
and
would
all
put
kinds
it
of things.
in big totes to make sure everything was watertight and that small animals couldn't get in, and there would be bricks and rocks and everything. And this was in the middle of the forest, way off trail. I've actually taken Martin there, so it was a spot that he had even tried to find on purpose and couldn't find it until I showed it to him. So it was very difficult to find, but I wanted to make sure that nothing else was getting into the things. And there were things that they would tell me they liked. I would say, "If you want more, bring me the packaging back." And they would bring it back. Sometimes the package would be old, dirty, and yellowed, and they would bring it back and leave it saying, "Okay, we want more." And I learned their likes and dislikes and whatnot. And so gifting was a lot of fun. They love balls. They've destroyed more balls than I can count, and there is still an Indiana Pacers basketball out there somewhere. But they flattened, but they've kept it because it's a basketball. They can't tear it up. So yeah, that's what the gifting was, and that they always would let me know. I know this kind of leads into what you were saying about the psychic end of it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to share this briefly so everybody will understand. We did have a small incident where my daughter had thought to herself, it'd be nice if they would leave mom something really cool like a deer antler. And the following week it was there. Well, one day I had gone to clean out my site because they always leave a mess. They always tore things up a certain way, ate things a certain way, left tooth marks and whatnot. But they had been tearing up these milk boxes. They're shelf-stable milks that they love. And there was this mess just in this one spot, and it was always in that one spot. And my ex kept telling me, no, it's something else that's getting them. And I said in my head, if it's you, let me know. There's got to be some way you can let me know. The following week when I came back, same mess, same spot, but in the middle was a glow light, one of these that have their own batteries that end up, they last for so long.
Yeah.
And they're not the chemical glow sticks. And I had switched and started using the same thing, but with whistle.
Oh, you froze for a second there. Edie. I'm like, uh-oh.
Okay.
But you're good. Keep going.
But
the glow sticks, yeah.
I had been giving them these for the longest time because they loved the glow lights. They would always take them. Yeah. Well, I went to pick it up and realized, wait a minute, there's not a whistle on this. Wait a minute. I haven't left this kind for 6-8 months. So what they had done to let me know it was them is they had brought back one of the lights from an old gifting area that was 6-8 months, maybe even a year old, and brought it back and left it there for me to show me, yes, it's us.
Yeah, that's a biggie. Bringing something back after 6 months. I mean, that's not a coincidence. And
I didn't say it verbally.
Yeah.
I didn't say it verbally. I said it in my head, and they showed me. And from then on, and after me recording the voice speaking to me and everything, that is when things just turned around and my heart opened up and they became a family to me.
Yes. And let me go to the chat real quick. Con Squatch. Listen, you could reach out to me. Link is in the description for my email and all my contact information if you're interested in talking. It's dinomedia2020@icloud.com. It's in the description below. I do see what you're saying in the chat. This is Edie's story to begin with, but she's not doing this anymore. She's about, you said a couple years, well, a little bit longer than that you stopped, right?
Yeah, I basically my doctor told me no more.
Yeah. Health reasons and all kinds of other stuff. So yeah.
So I still do things around this area. My daughter and I go out a lot, and we are near the River City in far southwestern Indiana. We've seen a lot out here. So I still get out. I don't camp. I can't hike, but I can still go and look and listen and feel. And that's the most important thing to me.
Okay. And yeah, we'll get to Martin here and the conversion and the switcheroo from Edie to Martin. But the psychic part of things, evidently they pick up, like you said, the psychic side of things. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't act beastly in some ways. And they're intelligent, but they still did go to the containers and they ripped them apart, in a way that, an animal would, right? But a strong animal. And you had teeth. Man, see, I'm going down the road again, Edie, and there's so many things. We could probably talk for a whole hour and a half on the subject again.
We could.
We'll get to Martin. But I think the biggest thing out of everything you said, and that I remember, is them biting into, I think, a Gatorade bottle or a milk carton, something like that, but they bit into it and you had teeth mark.
Yes.
And I know I asked you, did you try to get some, DNA or something, send it off to somebody? I know that, listen, I know money, you need money and all that other stuff, but whatever came of that, nothing really, I don't think,
No,
but
absolutely. Something did come of that.
okay. Okay.
It was
Real quick and then we'll get to Martin.
a much thicker bottle.
Yeah.
You know how some of the juice bottles and soda bottles are thick. They had
Yeah.
bitten and literally smashed it down and left tooth impressions. We cast those tooth impressions.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it on the IBRO site on Facebook. And somebody had picked it up, which happened to be a scientist who had done bone studies on, I can't remember if it was Mount Rainier or Olympus. I'm sorry, but he was a scientist.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, we have tooth impressions on these bones. Please give me those measurements. Gave him the measurements. He showed me the actual paper that they had written, and they matched. He said,
Okay.
you have a Sasquatch.
Huh. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. So again, I mean, evidence is all over the place.
Yes.
Not only with Bigfoot, but for other paranormal things too. And people just dismiss them because unless you experience it yourself, you're going to be in denial. That's just human nature. That's how our brains are wired. And I get it, but I definitely like hearing the stories and all of that. So, but okay. So, what ended up happening is, Martin, how did you come to be involved in all of this gifting and going to her clan and researching a little bit, and tell me a little bit about your first experience? Like, how did you first get introduced to the family of Bigfoot that she was researching for so long?
Martin, could I please start this? Because it is so funny, and I will let you take it over from there.
Absolutely.
Because we were, the IBRO site on Facebook is huge.
Yeah.
And Martin happened to be in one of the chats, and he was asking about the best places to go. And somebody that I had been Bigfooting with before said, you need to go here at this number campsite. And I'm like, jokingly, I said, shh, don't give away all of our secrets. And we're typing this back and forth.
Yeah.
And Martin's like, well, what do you mean? Is this a good place and everything? And so I messaged him. We messaged back and forth a little bit, and I got this really overwhelmingly good feeling. And I'm like, this is where you need to go. Go here, set up. This is where I've done all my research. There's a family here. They're amazing. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go and I'll set up and let you know how it goes. Next thing I know, I'm getting a message late that night.
That night.
Oh my God, something pushed over a tree. Am I safe here? Am I
Right.
okay?
Wow.
Retreat.
I lost it. I spent almost the entire night of us messaging back and forth.
Yeah.
And the weird thing was, is it seemed like they knew he was talking to me. And
Yep.
now I will let you take it over because it all still blows my mind.
That's
Okay, well,
exactly it.
Yeah, I'd like to know how you think they knew that he was speaking to you, and either one of you can talk about that.
Man,
It's
I
like
could go
they
on the surface or deep
it
down the
was like
rabbit
they
hole.
trusted him immediately.
Okay.
They trusted him immediately to make their presence known and knew he wasn't going to hurt them. And it just, wow. Because he
Okay.
wanted them to push a tree over. That was the thing. He asked and he got it, and it scared the pee out of him.
Oh man. Well, yeah, if you ask for it and it happens immediately or soon after, yeah, I'd be like, wow, wait, what? So okay, Martin, yeah, take it away. She kind of, the whole chat goes on. You're there that night,
Yep.
and you start having experiences, and what all started to happen there?
That was, first of all, the tree pushed over was not a one-time isolated incident where I asked for it. But I wanted to mention, I saw the chat and people mentioned the Skunk Ape headquarters, and I've been there, been to the Everglades, through Big Cypress, Green Swamp. really interesting down there. I became really fascinated in this subject. I was watching it on YouTube, and I just exactly as she described, and I replied like, "You're kidding me, right?" And I'd also I've met Leroy first, who she mentioned. I think that's where I found out about the Facebook group, and he'd mentioned the general area. Most of them don't really mention exactly where they are. They're kind of protective of the Sasquatch. I know people are going to want to know where it is. And
Yeah.
I camp full time, so I'm also looking out for myself that way without, in RV groups, people say, don't post your locations until you leave it. That's just camping.
Hmm.
So I went to this area that exactly where Edie said, and I was there it was just getting dark, and within about a half hour, there was 3 tree breaks. I think one was probably a whole tree, and 2 more were, one was like a big limb, and then one was like a branch being thrown or something like that. And if it comes up in conversation, I will say to people, if this tiny little woman wasn't on the other end of Facebook Messenger, I don't think I would have lasted through the night. And
Wow. Well, did you go to the exact spot, like
yep,
where she would park and everything? It was
yep.
okay.
The
Okay.
very,
He was in my spot.
Okay. Okay.
the
And
very,
let me just
yeah.
tell everybody too that please go to the description below. Edie did mention the IBRO Facebook group. That's easy enough to find if you guys are interested in Bigfoot. But the link to Edie's books on Amazon still up.
They're great.
Check those out. Yes, not only that story, but the prior story, which we've talked about before too, Edie. Anyways, check out her links, and I got the link to Martin's YouTube channel, which is called Camping with Sasquatch, is down there.
Thank you.
Lots of videos I see, and you do lots of some longer ones too. So I really like that. So
Some awesome audio too, you guys. Awesome audio.
and a couple glimpses of Bigfoot himself on a couple videos that you talked about, I think earlier. But yeah, just go check it out, you guys. Give us subscribe and all that good stuff. And I'm definitely going to have Martin on again. I do believe if he wants to come back on, but yeah, continue the story. I mean, yeah. So the first night there, all this stuff's happening. And prior to this, were you going out looking for Bigfoot and looking for doing some research or no?
A tiny bit. I
Okay.
somehow I became kind of obsessed with it.
Okay.
Like the previous winter, I
Hmm.
was living in Florida. I was doing YouTube and I was filming car racing, and I eventually found like how to hunt,
Mhm.
the YouTube channel, and I realized I think these are real stories. And then it was eventually like possessed. I had to go. I hoped to maybe find like maybe a footprint,
Yeah.
maybe, or something. And I had to camp out of necessity, just money and stuff is the only way I could really afford to travel around. In hindsight, I believe I was visited everywhere I went, from Arkansas, Missouri, just things that happened,
Mhm.
like footsteps behind me in Arkansas. It was almost, I don't think I accepted that for a while, because it was almost, just really hard to believe. Like my first night camping, something would happen.
Mhm.
But now it's like there's no other explanation. And I've heard them since, the footsteps.
Okay.
And so, anyways, fast forward to this. And I think, first of all, I love the subject. I study it practically. I'm still blown away with what Edie did. It's just amazing if you get into all the ideas that she had. And I don't even know. I mean, I do know one big event that turned her disposition towards them, a recording that she got.
Yeah.
And I absolutely 100% believe that it was on her coattails that I was sort of acknowledged pretty quickly. I would bet my life on it. How do they know that? I don't know, but I would absolutely. She created something. I don't even know where you even came up with the idea to take this pretty unique approach to this, for most people, very scary thing, and offer this different, this friendly, amazing thing that you had so much reciprocation. I mean, it's mind blowing. I mean, you could tell somebody about it for 12 hours straight. And so shortly into it, Edie once brought up, like, would you like to try gifting like I did? And sure, yeah. Where should I go? She's like, you should go out there and find a place that feels good to you. And it was a really short time until something happened. I mean, and I just she started me off with what her and Barb, I would say, figured out are some things that they like. So I began with some of their favorites.
Yeah.
And
with
the
gifting,
first,
you started
yeah,
right off with the same thing she was doing too. You were gifting in this area.
and the things that she learned over the years as preferences, like bananas. And the first time that something happened, I was excited and I showed it to her, and she said, sorry, but that was raccoons. That the bananas were perfectly peeled. And
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh,
Well, that's the thing that me and Edie, again, if you guys check out Paranormal Into the Night and put in Edie, that's all you need to do, Paranormal Into the Night, Edie, and it'll come up. We've gone in depth on all of this stuff. I don't want to rehash it again. I'm trying to do a different show here with, talking with Martin too. But yeah, I mean, the gifting started simply with food, and you came to learn, Edie, that certain foods you could tell if other animals opened them. Then you ended up putting them in Tupperware where animals can't get them, so it would actually take some dexterity to open them up. So it got a little bit more complicated in to ensure that it was what you thought it was. And then you started doing other things like electronics and stuff like that. And then I guess Martin was kind of learning that to start off too, right?
yes.
Oh,
And
he would contact me from Walmart and
yes.
show me as he was shopping and
Yeah.
taking pictures of the things he was putting in the cart for them. But he went a step further and did some really interesting things with what was that game that you
The
used?
Mancala board.
A Mancala board.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. And anything happened with that?
Well, the interesting thing that happened right away, because these are like little stones, like
Right.
polished rocks,
Mm-hmm.
and I think 2 of them were broken in half immediately. And you could drive a car over these little pieces. And very soon after it, I found I'm skipping a whole lot here, but I got to the point where I read them the instructions and put it down on the ground. That's kind of, I don't like to just lead with something like that, but that's what I did.
Yeah.
And a couple days later, they ripped that little piece of paper, and the words "to win" were the only words showing. It was ripped perfectly around those words.
That was so cool.
And I thought, did you guys just beat me? Like I'm not really thinking we're going to play the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were, I mean, one time this blew my mind. I had brought him a little blanket and a couple little towels, just, I don't know, maybe they could use them. And as I was opening one up down there, I dropped the little plastic tag that you find, like, that holds the receipt on, that little thing that gets stuck in your socks. And I didn't even realize I dropped it. And when I came back, like, the next day or the day after, I noticed that that little tag was in one of the slots on the Mancala board.
Really?
I mean, to me, that was...
Yeah. How could it possibly get there? Yeah.
They're very particular about the smallest details, like like he said, the plastic barbs, tags. They will peel off UPC codes, and if you leave them bananas, they will peel off the sticker and leave it and eat the whole banana, everything. But they will take that sticker off, and Martin immediately started getting UPC stickers pulled off and left for him, because that was one of the things I told him to watch for, and they did it immediately to show it was them.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, because those don't belong on a banana, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
It's food. Why would you stick something on food?
yeah, right. It makes sense. I mean, it
It
really does. Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay.
the little stickers she refers to, they're not easy to even
Mm-mm.
to rip those off the
All
way
right.
they
Yeah.
do.
And you got to think that their hands are enormous, so the dexterity, that they have. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of amazing in itself. So, yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, just go wherever you want. I mean, tell me some of the best experiences you've had there, at this with this family of Bigfoot, and it did end up being, if you guys shared notes, the same family. This, did. Boy, did the younger one have time to grow up? I don't know, Edie. I don't know if you guys could dissect it that much, but
Absolutely. We could hear when he would send me recordings,
mhm,
I could say point blank, that's the female,
mm,
that's Oscar.
Mm.
That sounds like the young juvenile, because it's just like owning cats. If you're not a cat person, all cats sound the same. But
yeah.
if you're a cat lover and you have multiple cats, you end up being able to recognize their voices. And this is
Oh, yeah.
how much I got with them, spending time with them. So when he would send me audio,
Mhm.
I could pretty much tell who was who, as far as the males and everything goes. And Oscar, like I said, he was my first the audio that changed everything for me. And
Yeah.
I will recognize his voice every single time.
Yeah, because you recorded at one time, I think you told me, where towards the end there, I think, where the speech was getting, you could tell there was like an audible type speech going on there. I mean, it
Yeah.
wasn't just grunts and groans and all that.
Oh no, it was speech. It was 100%. He
Yeah.
howls at the beginning, and then he speaks, and there, like I said, there was almost a yearning in his voice, like he didn't want us to go. He didn't want us to leave. And I'd even sent that clip to a linguist, who used to be in the United States Army, who actually does work for many of the big names, Mundrum and Meldrum and so many others. And he listened to it and confirmed that it was Sasquatch language.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so, yeah, go
and
ahead.
how did he confirm it? Who was this again?
I don't know his real name, but
Okay.
I just know him through the BFRO and the
Okay.
IBRO.
Okay. Got
And we got in contact, and somebody told him about my recording, and he said, I'd be more than happy to listen to it for you. And he did, and he was just blown away, and he said it was one of the best clips that he had ever heard.
Yes, and did we play that on the channel?
Yes, you
I
have.
think yes. Okay, I've got to go back and clip that out. Okay, so and listen, we've got enough grunts and groans and audible speech patterns that people have gotten over the years, especially with the iPhones and technology and everything like that, so that they can actually pin down that. I mean, it used to be unknown, but I think there's enough evidence out there, audio wise, that they can pin it down and say, yeah, this is the same voice as this one. And it is, they can't technically classify it because a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch hasn't been found yet. But, the evidence is kind of piling up that, something is going on there.
But
But yeah, Martin.
they can tell
Okay.
by the pitch, I do believe
Yeah.
it is, that humans cannot make.
Hmm.
And like when they howl, how they can go low, high, low, which
Hmm.
other animals, a lot of people say, oh, that's a wolf, that's a coyote.
Yeah.
And they can't go low, high, low like that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways you can tell the difference when you're hearing a howl, is that almost siren like sound.
And
And
there's a
anyway,
certain when we started to get to past the howls and the groans, that actual speech pattern where
yes,
it's like like clicks almost, and you know, it's weird to explain. You know what I'm talking about, Edie? Even that. Go ahead.
The recording I got almost sounded like he's speaking in Native American.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was all wah wah wah, and you could hear him forming these words that did not sound like words to me, but yet
Yeah.
you could tell it was very much speech.
Yeah.
And they even verified that the noise that he made at the end, the sound he made, this gentleman said that this is a common one that they hear, and it's their word for human, for person.
Huh.
And he had said that at the very end of this 30-second clip that we had gotten.
Very interesting. Hey, it's Dave Plouffe. What's going on, Dave? Good to see you in the chat. Edie, you would, I think, recognize Dave Plouffe. He's been there from the beginning.
Oh my
Even
gosh.
I know, right? Even in Paranormal, he's doing shows with me on Sunday now, Edie.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know it's been, I know when my timeline memories come up and I saw that we had done a show exactly 8 years ago tonight.
Wow.
And it wasn't one of our first.
I know.
Because
That's
we had
so
done
weird.
so many together, but it's been fun. And yeah, for any of you that they're still around and everything, my gosh, everybody, I miss all you. And I wish I was back out in the woods again, but like I
Yeah.
said, it's not in the cards for me. So being able to, I teased Martin in the beginning and I called him Grasshopper because I taught him everything I know with my whole heart because I trusted him, and I knew he wasn't going to think I was crazy when I said I love this family of Bigfoots.
Yes. Oh,
They
yes.
care for me. They care for my child. They protect me, and I always feel safe around them, which is why when, the IBRO would go out and we would do like night things and there would be a noise over here and I'm running into the forest and everybody else is going, stop
What are you
her.
doing? Yeah. What
And
are
I'm
you
like,
doing?
I'm not afraid of them, you guys.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm not afraid of them. And you shouldn't be. And yes, I do believe there are Bigfoots that have different temperaments because
Oh,
there are
yeah.
Bigfoots in isolated areas who are not around people. But
Mhm.
they also know your intentions. If you're packing a weapon and you're thinking in your mind, my God, if I run across one of these, I'm going to shoot it in the head. They know.
Yeah.
They know. And so they're going to growl. They're going to chase you. You're going into their home.
Yeah,
So,
very well, spoken. Yeah, that's exactly it. If you put off those vibes of danger, then it's going to keep
mhm.
them away. So yeah, never take a weapon with you. Hey, Pete, Orbs seen some cases before sightings. Hello, Laura. Hello, Ed Stathis. Good to
Orbs.
see you guys.
We've seen,
Um,
I always see a gold orb. I don't know, Martin, if you ever saw it while you were out there, but a lot of times they would see a gold orb floating in that particular
Wow.
camping area. So yeah, I
Okay.
saw somebody mention an orb.
Yeah. Okay, Martin. Well, yeah, Martin.
Martin, go for it.
Yeah, tell me about some of the big stuff. I mean, have you witnessed an actual sighting yet there at that location?
Possibly. It was without my glasses, and I saw
Ah,
the right dimensions next to a tree, kind of a shadowy figure, and I was
okay.
sitting there, and I got up and put my glasses on and walked back. It's actually where her daughter had a sighting, and I
Okay.
and I kept looking, and I was like, I'm pretty sure there's nothing there now. I looked right back at that spot, and um, I personally, just kind of listening to encounters and stuff, I feel like there's some kind of evasion to sightings from on their part, and so I haven't really pushed the subject. And I've heard things even from Edie once where it was almost like sometimes maybe we're not ready, or for whatever
Yeah.
reason, maybe it would frighten me a lot. I don't know, but I feel that they're sensitive to that possibly. And
hmm
but yeah, not like a full on. I really can't wait for the day. I'm so fascinated by their physique that I hear about. with the size, and I've heard their strength. And
Yeah. Well, yeah, if
wow.
it's been a year at this site, like it took Edie, how long did it take? You heard things, you vaguely seen things and you know, stuff like that, but it took you forever before you even got a sighting, right?
After my initial sighting,
After the initial,
yeah,
yes.
after the
That was
initial sighting,
accidental.
yeah, they would always let me know. They would do really bizarre things that I knew could only be them because
Yeah.
there was no way anybody could get past me. I'd seen a young one running back and forth
Yeah.
on one of the game trails, and had seen one moving very quickly through the forest, actually kind of trying to pace our vehicle.
Okay.
And then I saw the female in broad daylight in Yellowwood State Forest, also here in Indiana. And it was the most magnificent thing because it was broad daylight. It had been raining all weekend. And it was that day after, days of rain, and the sun is just shining. And it was shining down these little, like
Yeah, through the
spotlights
leaves in
through
the
the
forest,
forest.
yeah.
And there she stood
Mm,
in the forest, and you could tell 100% it was a female, um, because they
nice.
look like females. They're not as broad,
Right.
and they do have breasts. And
Mm,
she looked toward the road and turned and just walked on into the forest. And
Mm.
I was like, okay, I'm, I can be at peace with this because I've seen a male and a female. I've seen a young one.
yeah.
And, I always know they're there.
Yeah. Dave does ask here real quick, and I think that's awesome, Edie. I really do. I wish I could have had those experiences, or maybe one day, who knows? I don't know. Dino, sorry for asking, but Edie, have you and Martin heard the Art Bell Bigfoot scream? I mean,
Yeah, you've played it for
probably
me.
both of you have. I don't know, Martin, have you heard it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Edie, what are your thoughts on it? Art Bell had the show overnight, a big show. It's Coast to Coast AM. Do you know that, Martin?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
Back in the day, Art Bell, the king. He's still the king, and he's passed on. Rest in peace, Art Bell. But he did Dreamland with Linda Moulton Howe, and she brought on a tape that she got from, I forget where, but darn, a legitimate loud yell from a Bigfoot, supposedly, but I think we all can assume if there's a Bigfoot, that's what it is. But Edie, what were your thoughts on that?
It's been so long, do you know?
I
I think you
know.
may have played it for me like the first show we did together, and that's
Yeah.
probably been 8 to 10 years ago.
Okay. Well, Dave asks, and listen,
And
Dave,
I do
it's
believe at the time I believed it
yeah. Oh yeah.
because, like I said, I've heard him yell, I've heard him whoop, I've heard him whistle, I've heard him scream,
Yeah.
I've heard him do the what I call the hunting call. Um, I just heard him make so many different noises. So no, it wasn't like a shocking thing, or oh my God, that's fake, or anything like
Yeah.
that, because I believe more people who, come forward these kind of recordings and stuff than I disbelieve them. I would rather give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, and listen, I think the fake ones you can just tell right off the bat, and it's the ones that, like that Art Bell one, and even the one you showed me that you listen to, and you go, "Wow, wait a second, that could possibly and probably is something more than we think it is." You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, Pete, I'm not sure why you keep bringing up the orbs, and not being disrespectful or anything like that. When it comes to Sasquatch, but haven't seen a Squatch, but seen orbs. Orbs is a whole different topic entirely, and one I almost stay away from unless we're talking about a specific story that has happened
Yeah.
involving an orb on camera or something like that. But most orbs are dust particles in the air, and or
Yes.
light reflections and stuff, and it's really hard
Mm.
to talk about orbs if it's not a specific story, and one you go, whoa, okay, that's an energy orb. It's glowing. It's orange. It's this big. There's a big difference on that. So this is Sasquatch. This is Bigfoot, Yeti, whatever.
Yeah.
So
And the orb
yeah.
that I saw, I don't believe was related, to be honest. But you don't know. There's so
Yeah.
much we don't know.
Yeah, everybody's starting to throw in stuff too here. Panic Penguin, where I grew up, there are green lights that streak through the woods. I've seen them without knowing how famous they were. Panic Penguin, yeah, unexplained lights. Dig into that rabbit hole, okay? That's a very, very cool topic, and one I'd like to discuss later on. But Martin, biggest thing that ever happened to you while out researching Bigfoot?
Biggest thing.
That sticks in your head and you go, wow, oh my God,
To answer Edward, I'd love to speak with Autumn Williams. Gosh, there's a number. So I have a thing with tree breaks. And
Yes, if you look at your video channel, your YouTube channel, you take walks, you look at everything in the trees and branches and the ground, which is what you should be doing. So yeah, go ahead.
I find that all fascinating. I don't know why it doesn't bore me, but I just love looking. But I love hearing things break, like a tree. I've lost count. I've actually had a number of times where I requested a tree be broken and I recorded it shortly after.
Mm-hmm.
It's still kind of hard to believe, like were they actually responding to me, but it's a pretty high number of coincidences.
Okay.
There was one where I was coming back from a trail and I saw a tree down across where I knew it wasn't there before. And I just said, this is how I kind of am when I'm out in the woods. I sort of speak out loud to them.
Yeah.
And I just said, hey guys, man, this is amazing. I would have loved to have heard this. And that same night, about 6 hours later, I left a recorder all night and I recorded a wonderful big limb, probably, 6 inches across and 50 feet long. Starting from like an hour previous, I heard a couple of breaks, then I heard the whole thing crash. I went and found it. It was near a gifting site. And not only was it right next to a gifting site, because I've done that in more than one place. This wasn't like a main location that I did it for a long time. And on top of that, there was 2 little arches made right out of like the end of the tree, which is something that I just make a big deal out of when I'm out exploring. I'm always just looking at arches and I'll be like, these are amazing. I love these. And inside of all that was a perfectly open treat box under all that stuff. And so to me, that was pretty cool. Just
Okay.
the whole thing, hearing it, recording it, it woke me up, of course. I mean, it was quite loud. And
well, 2 questions, and either of you can answer it. The arches, what do you think that is? What is that for when it comes to Bigfoot? Why do they build the arches with the branches?
I personally have heard a number of different possibilities. All I really think is it's purposeful. And as far as how purposeful, I could go with a marker territory type
That's what I
thing,
was thinking. Yeah.
or I could go further. See, it's a funny thing because you can look in some and say, well, did a tree just fall and do that, right? Well, there's an area where I mow, and there's one section where I'm the only one that mows, and I just have this ongoing thing with arches, and kind of following Edie's coattails with them knowing our preferences. I showed up to work one day, and there was a tree that's probably 7-8 inches across. I don't know if that's diameter or circumference, whatever, but like across, not around, big. just completely bent right across where I have to mow at a 90-degree angle. No tree leaning on the top of it, and it was barely even cracked from the
Okay.
week before. And just to me, that was like, these guys really just bent wood. How, I mean, it should just break if you know what I mean?
Right, right.
So,
Well,
but for me,
also then the okay, well, also the breaking of branches or limbs, like you said, there was a 6 foot or 6 inch circumference of one of the. I mean, what do you think that is all about?
I I can only speak for myself. For me personally, I feel like it's because they know I love it.
Okay.
There's no bad vibe. I really, you could say showing off, but I've really reached the point because of the amount of times I've requested it and it
Okay.
happened. And I do love it. I just think it's fantastic. I know some
Yeah.
people hear a tree fall down and they just want to go home, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
I find it so fascinating. How do you do that? And I mean, I could speak for a while about tree break experiences, and for me personally, and I can't really say, though, I can't argue. Someone might say they did it to me to scare me out of there. That could be,
Yeah.
but for me personally, it sounds wild, but I
Well,
feel like,
because most people would go, branches are dropping and rotting and falling all the time. So, that's the only reason I bring that up. I don't know if there's certain, and again, you're walking around the forest doing this research and you're asking for it all the time. So that kind of lends a little bit of credence towards what you're saying. Um, what are some of the things that we should look out if we're going out into the forest and researching like you guys have done? uh, what are some of the signs that for sure Bigfoot's been here? I know they've talked about little bed, the beddings where they pull down all the branches and all of that stuff and kind of make a little bedding area. What are there certain things when it comes to trees and branches that are telltale signs?
I mean, if you go into the forest and all of a sudden you see this intricate, woven, crazy thing where trees have been broken off at the ground and moved and like laid across one another and woven to where you're standing here going, wait a minute, we're talking 50 to 75, 80-foot trees that have
Mhm.
been moved
Mm-hmm.
and are woven into trees that are standing. And you see this and think, this isn't natural,
Yeah.
because you can look at it and know that's not natural. And that is one of the things that really opened my eyes when I started really looking, because I had been camping before, um, and I'd never really paid attention. But when I knew what to look for, I was shocked, going, how did I not notice
Yeah.
this before? And in the middle of the forest, no damage, perfect trees, and all of a sudden a tree is freshly broken, 12 foot up in the air, just broken. And
Hmm.
I run across those, and then the arches that are not, sure, sometimes you'll have a smaller tree and a storm or whatnot, and a bigger tree will come and trap that tree. But sometimes you get these bends that are so perfect and so beautiful, and you're looking and going, how in the heck is
Mhm.
that being held? And
Yeah.
I have walked a trail 100 times, and they have, and I know the trail like the back of my hand. And then one day I walked by, and one of these small trees at this side had been taken and moved and bent. And like he said, it wasn't broken, it was perfectly bent. And you could see around the base of this smaller tree where it had been shaken so much that they had made a hole
Mm-hmm.
around it. and they were able to manipulate it and bend it across the path that I always walked on. So there are so many things to watch
Hmm.
for, and if it doesn't look natural and it makes
Yeah.
you stop and go, how the heck did that happen?
And what do you think the reasoning behind it is? Do you think it is just marking territory, paths or whatever for themselves, or
I think so. I think that directional markers,
yeah?
and some of it I actually think is artistic. I really
Hmm.
do. I've seen a lot of, and I
Did you
always
see
say
that
this
at your
for,
camping site? Did you see a lot of that there? Okay.
yeah, that where they would take and they would make asterisks, asterisk. I can never
Yes,
pronounce that word.
interweave. Yes,
Yeah,
branches.
and
Yeah.
they would take and they would perfectly balance these and make like
Hmm.
these big star things, and you could go up and touch the end, and it would go like this, and I'm like, this is
Hmm.
phenomenal. That's why my first book is called The Beautiful Mind, because I would look at these things and
Yeah.
go, this is really cool. This is beautiful. This is intelligent.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's very interesting. You never came across a sleeping area, have you, Edie?
I have, yeah.
You have? How
Um,
about you, Martin? You too? No?
Possibly, yeah,
Okay.
and
Okay.
possibly what I and my a few of my friends and I wonder maybe it could be like a nursery kind of thing.
that's what I was getting ready to say. I thought
Okay.
mine was a nursery.
Hmm. Well, any again, I forget what I asked you, Edie, but here, I mean, I'm sure you would go down there and look all through there. That's what I would do for
Mhm.
like hair, see what's in between what they were laying on, if it was just
Mhm.
leaf, litter, anything. I think you even found scat, didn't you, Edie, at
Oh
the
my God.
site
I
there?
found a
Okay.
big, big pile of scat. It was enormous, and it was up on the side of a ridge that was almost straight up and down. And I ended up
Yeah.
climbing up it and got on this little tiny little shelf. And I look over, and it was like right there. And it was filled with the little yellow, some people call them yellow jackets,
Okay.
bumblebee type things. And it
Yeah.
was filled with them, like they had gone and gotten the whole hive and eaten it. And it was all in there. And I still have the pictures of that poo to this day, because
Wow.
it was enormous. And
Yeah.
there ain't anything in Indiana that can poop that big. I'm sorry.
Wow.
It was huge.
I was just
Yeah.
hanging out with Leroy recently, and he showed me that picture, and he's just like, "What in Indiana eats,
Eats the,
bees,
yeah, what do you call them? Hornets. Hornets. That's the word I
Yeah.
was looking for. The
yellow
little,
jacket?"
the ones that always
Well,
like to live
bears,
there.
but I mean,
And but we don't have bears. And
there aren't black bears in Indiana, no.
there is one. I don't know if there was any up north, but I know there's one that's been documented way down here where I am, because I'm in far southwest Indiana, that
Okay,
likes to move between Ohio, Indiana, and Kentucky. And
right.
they watch him like crazy. But no, we have not had bears here for centuries in Indiana.
Okay, okay. Because yeah, I mean, there is a section right there with that area that you're talking about, Monroe. What is it again? I don't know why it keeps escaping me.
Morgan Monroe.
Morgan Monroe State Park, and it is a vast forested area, but it is an area that gets connected to through Virginia up through to the Appalachian Mountains. So
Yes.
through that path, I mean, anything could live in there. I mean, the forest is just so vast, and yes, it
Yes.
connects right over to that. Like I said, look at maps of the United States of America, and look at the forested areas. You would, and how they connect up to each other.
Mhm.
State parks and all of that have kind of connected themselves over the years to actually make it easier for creatures to roam the entire country.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think it's kind of a cool thing. Hey, Tau Flautermouse, what's going on? Good thing you didn't step in it. Yeah, no, she would have fallen over it.
I was crawling up, and I had just gotten my elbows up on that little shelf and was pulling myself up when I saw it to my left.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't. That would have been a mess because it was, like I said, it was enormous.
Oh my. Oh boy. Okay. Anyways, okay. Anything else you want to talk about, Martin? I mean, your experiences. I mean, it doesn't have to be necessarily this area. I mean,
I'm so fascinated by how Edie was so dead on with what she would prepare me for to experience.
yeah,
She would, like, with the gifting and stuff, she'd be like, this package is going to look like this. This one's just going to be ripped. As she mentioned earlier, the bananas will be gone. The little sticker will be ripped off.
yeah.
And it just,
I think it lends credence to Edie's story and all the years she spent there and all the research she did. And, you know, thankfully we got the book you got out, Edie, and we've got many interviews of your experience and stuff like that. But yeah, you know exactly what goes on when it comes to gifting and how to get close to a Bigfoot, you know?
And it's just like I said, when I went from fear to this place of more understanding,
Mhm.
and this feeling of love and respect,
Yeah.
respecting their boundaries, respecting their home, respecting nature and everything. It was like they opened up to me, and I knew Martin had a very similar mindset when it came to respecting the outdoors and the land that God gave us. And they just opened up to him. And I I said this here recently. I've done a couple of interviews and actually spoke at one of the IBRO campouts. Um, the crazier the world seems to get, war and just all the craziness, it seems
Yes.
like there are more and more sightings. More and more people are experiencing things like I have, like Martin has. And the more you open your mind to it and open your heart to it, it seems like they will just pour everything into you. And it almost feels like they have something to teach us. And I just feel that with all my heart and soul. And I think it's something that may be important to us more moving forward in the future. And I feel that so hard with them, and listening to other people's stories, and especially the way they've acted with Martin. Um, I just really believe that. Like we have a guy here in Indiana that his name's Squatch Man, and I don't know. He's been on a ton of shows. He's
Mm.
even been on some television shows and stuff, and he feels the same way. And there are more and more of us that are having those experiences that think that they are really reaching out to us to teach us something that we're not getting. And I
Mm.
truly think it has to do with respect for the land and what we can do for the land, what the land can do for us, just basically.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, no,
deep. Everybody's wanting to hear these big,
no,
scary stories about, the Bigfoots. And if you guys go back and listen to some of the stories that I have told Dino in the past, where we have had friends that have gotten the, what do you call it, that where the Bigfoot freezes you to where you cannot move and look at them.
no, yeah,
It's happened. We've
mm,
had it happen. I've had dozens and dozens of different stories with different people who have been with us at the time. So if you guys want to hear that, there's a whole bunch of ones that Dino and I have done together.
yeah,
But I think it was really brought me full circle is the way they just immediately trusted Martin, the way they trusted me. And it's just, I don't know, it's cathartic, I guess. It's just deep.
yeah, no. Edward Stewart, video now catching a lot. Paranormal caught on tape showing some good videos. Ah, Listen, I love watching a lot of those shows and stuff too, but it's becoming very difficult to watch any of those types of videos and shows because I mean, honestly, 90% are almost faked, and you could tell they are. But people will still fight the fact that, I mean, the shows will. They'll go, and they saw this on this night, and look at how the way it moves, and I look at it and I go, no, that's not. No. But anyways, getting back to what
Well,
you're saying, I mean,
we've
getting away
also
from.
done.
Go ahead.
You
Yeah.
and I have done paranormal stories before because,
Oh yeah.
and that's one thing I didn't mention for those who are new to me. We had a paranormal investigations company when
Mhm.
this all started, and so I had a lot of that kind of experience under my belt. And
Oh, a really deep story involving a death that took, or not a death, but
a murder, a kidnap
murder.
and a murder.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
took
and
place
he attached.
years before.
Yeah, he attached himself to me.
Yeah.
And this was before, right before the Bigfoot thing happening, because we
Yeah.
were literally out researching this story of Mr. Satori, and that is what brought me to the Bigfoots, was the whole thing with me researching the spirit connect that who connected
That
to
attached itself to
attached
you.
to me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, I know. And again, search up Paranormal to the Night on the channel. The playlist is there. You can find everything there.
Yeah, you
And
guys got to hear that story because it was
oh, it's
insane.
wild. Yeah, it's if you like scary, spooky stuff, listen to that one. That's a good one. Um,
It's the real deal though, because when I learned I mean, we used all of the equipment and everything. You guys like the paranormal TV shows. We used the equipment. He spoke through the equipment. He gave us his name.
oh yeah.
It was nuts. So yeah, you'll definitely want to hear that. But
Oh yeah. Edward
um,
Stewart says the Mississippi tree knocking is really convincing, especially after it ran. What do you guys think of the tree knockings, the knocking sounds? I think those are somewhat very credible because of
yes.
the tone and the sound of the knocks themselves.
Hmm.
I mean, what else is going to really, unless there's a guy out there with a hammer, you know what I mean? And that's not the case most of the time.
No. I had it
Woodpeckers,
happen
yeah.
right next to us one night. I told you about that we were doing a night, and we don't go out and do Bigfoot hunts. We go out and sit and listen. And we were sitting there, and I was like, gosh, I really wish they would let me know they're around. 3 seconds later, bam,
Mm.
right to the right. I jumped out of my skin, and it was so close, not 20 feet to the right. They did it, dropped it, and ran. And you could hear them going boom, 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 back down the ridge. It was like, okay, ask and you shall receive. So tree knocks are huge. And I do believe it's one of their ways of communicating to each other where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Martin? Hear a lot of tree knocking? I know you do. I've seen the channel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have this one interesting story that's kind of like a tree knock, where I was chopping wood and the wood was stuck on the axe, and I swung it really hard onto the stump to get it loose. And
Yeah.
I'm just out there by myself, and I thought, I bet you guys thought that was one heck of a knock, huh? You know what I heard that night? It was like a tree hitting another tree.
Mm.
And it had me wondering, did they, and I kind of wanted to follow up with that. With, you mentioned the telepathy thing earlier, and by the way, Edie, I just put out a toy phone the other day, and
Oh,
I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, I told you they love those little toy cell phones.
yeah. You talked about a story when we talked too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so Edie had told about the story, or maybe I read it in her book, about the daughter's mental request.
Mhm.
And I'd also seen a video by Sasquatch Theory where he just verbally said, "Would you push a tree over?" And like 40 minutes later, it sounded like a tree went over.
Yeah.
And so I just was thinking about the two of those, and I thought to myself, I wonder if you guys would push a tree over. And I heard a massive tree fall within probably 45 minutes or an hour straight
Hmm.
out. And I mean, I'll tell you, I've probably only heard in person 10 trees fall in the whole time. It's not like a daily thing. And
Yeah.
that, you know, this is like listening every single night in the forest, spending days out there just hiking and stuff. It's not
Yeah.
common. So the time, it made me wonder, you know, was that a response? And that was far from the only time when I've thought something and had a equivalent response.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a knocking comes along with a lot of howls too. I mean, when activity starts up, the knocking and the howling kind of go one in one sometimes. So,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, I
Night
actually
Bright
have
talks. Go ahead.
one where it's kind of down the rabbit hole, but kind of tying in with the telepathy.
Yeah.
And I would imagine Edie would feel the same way. There's something about this perfect timing, like where you think about something and it happens.
Mm.
And I'm leaving a comment on Southern Ontario Sasquatch about how you won't believe the timing of this break that happened. I'm telling her while I was typing, and as I'm typing that, a break happens, like right out in the forest.
Wow.
They're just like, are you kidding me? Like, are you guys reading my mind?
Unbelievable. Night for a Talk Show number 58. Is that all the thumbs up we got? Come on, you guys. Let's see. 61 thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up button if you guys are enjoying the stream. And definitely check out the links below to Edie's books on Amazon and YouTube channel for Martin. He's got a lot of good footage there of a
He
lot of good
really
stuff.
does.
Thank you.
There was one video you said it's deep in the archives somewhere of an actual Bigfoot walking away in a distance. Am I right?
The one a lot of people would say they can see one in the video where one breaking a tree,
Okay,
but
Mhm.
in the actual video, it's titled "Did I film a cloaked Bigfoot?" or "Is this a cloaked?" If you looked up "cloaked" on my channel, you'll see this thing where I actually slowed the video down
Mhm.
a number of times. But if you watch till the end, you'll also see quite an interesting tree break in the middle of the daylight, not at night.
Nice.
And you
Okay.
can see toward the end, after you see the tree going down, you see something dark
Move.
like swing off of the tree.
Huh.
There's movement
And
right at the very end after everything stops.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what's interesting with some of these walkthrough through forests, state parks, whatever, where if you're the person that could sit down and just observe for a couple hours on some of these streams, some of the things that are caught off to the side that
Mhm.
nobody even picks up on or gets just passed through. A lot of people
Yeah.
are going through archived footage of people on YouTube that are doing stuff like that and
Yeah.
finding incredible stuff that people miss because
Oh
they're
my
not paying
goodness.
attention. They're looking
Yeah.
forward.
There is actually footage on one of Les Stroud's show.
Hmm.
When Les Stroud did that, I think it was like maybe 10 episodes on Bigfoot.
Yeah.
But
I
there is
saw that.
actually one in the background.
Huh.
And this
Take your day.
also happened to somebody in the IBRO. I'm not going to say exactly who, but they were taking pictures by a river area. And after they got home, was looking at the pictures, there was one standing at the edge of the river, clear as day, not anywhere in the wood line, but
Yeah.
right there in the middle, clear as a bell. And people have these pictures, they just don't put them out there because
Yeah.
of the scrutiny, as well as like here in Indiana, like I said, we are very, very protective of the area where we research. We're very protective.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of people are protective of with, like you just said, with their research and stuff like that. And then on top of it, you got the people who won't release video or footage because it'll be something for their family to always hold on to, but they'll just get too much ridicule if they release it. So sometimes you can't win for losing when it comes to the strange, the weird, or the paranormal.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? We just keep asking these questions and talking about it. And hopefully one day, I even say this in ufology, one day, hopefully something concrete happen. Listen, UFOs, talking about that. So I'm going to have a guest on, but I just had to throw this out there. I mean, this past year, I don't know if you were up on all the UFO stuff, but how even CNN was saying the UFO was shot down over in Canada. There were at least 6 of them in a couple week period, and they were admitting we shot down a UFO. Those were their words, and still people are going, okay, well, you know what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
you literally have to have a Bigfoot come and kiss you on the cheek and, walk away. And then you're like, what?
I was literally that person. I was like, y'all are crazy. Look at this stupid Finding Bigfoot people. Ooh, they're idiots. I kept saying they're idiots. Let's go knock on a tree. And then it was like, boom, right there in front of me. And I was humbled, to say the least.
Well, people want instant gratification when it comes to anything in life, right? So, like even shows like that, Finding Bigfoot or other things, and episode after episode after episode, they're not really finding anything. They're hearing something, maybe this. So, listen, you got to get involved with the characters and stuff like that. You're not going to go out there and hit every single time you go out there, I go to a haunted house. I'm not going to see a ghost every time I go out there, I mean, if I'm lucky, but whatever, it's just the way it is. Fluff Chick Productions. Thank you, Connie. $2 super chat. I appreciate that very much. It is coming down to the bottom of the hour. Man, we touched on a little bit there, but I think this was a cool stream. I think, Martin, you got a lot more to talk about and a lot more research to do. So hopefully that goes well and you learn a lot more, and reach out to me anytime something big happens, or if you catch something or anything like that. I would definitely love to have you on the show and talk some more. So, yeah.
Thank you. I was just thinking, Edie was kind of earlier, there's that whole mystery around this. And, I recently was listening to Peter Byrne, and I think he said he's had 2 experiences over like 50 years or something. Like he heard tree knocks once. And what's interesting to me is somebody like Edie has a different approach, like she mentioned, where I mean, you flat out would admit that you consider them intelligent beings, even people, you might say. And it just it makes sense through that lens. Like it just makes sense that way to me. There's this whole mystery, like when you hunt them as like an animal, like a bear, it's just endlessly elusive. You never find a thing, or not very much. And then Edie, and then I, followed in her footsteps and had the same experience. I had things happening twice a day sometimes, like, just at the gifting spot alone.
Yeah.
And things like footsteps circling camp. And I'll throw this one little story in. I got the sense that they missed her. And I said, can I call you when I hear the footsteps? And somebody paced back and forth.
Wow.
Down right below me for, I don't know, 30 minutes. And what kind of deer does that? And no human can walk down in this spot. No way.
Yeah.
And, like big
still having a connection with Edie. Yeah. I mean, I could see that. And like you were saying, she has, most people go out there hunting Bigfoot. Edie had a totally different approach, and she did, you kind of, Barb and her squatching and all that and gifting and all that, you took it, and ran with it, and
Yep.
all those years, like I said, to have patience, all of that stuff, but to approach it in a kind way, you know what I mean? Is this real kind of way? And then you've done everything right, Edie, and I think you've taken the approach that a lot more people should take when it comes to uh, Bigfoot hunting, whatever, looking
I,
for Bigfoot,
I
looking for
appreciate
Bigfoot.
that. I do. I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the IBRO have taken it this way.
Yeah.
And
It's
instead of
good.
going out and researching, they
Yeah.
go out and they wait for them to come to them. And it's really changed the dynamic of the group. And there have been a lot more experiences since then.
Well, and you get a big group like that together, and like Martin did, you guys were in a conversation in a text and on the IBRO Facebook page, a group, and you guys all know this is here, this is there, we're in vicinity. So to have a group like that, it does make it easier, if you do take the right approach, like you and all of these people are taking now. So hey, Kathy, big hugs to you. Good to see you in the chat. But yeah, listen, you guys, it is 9:30. I got to get ready for the overnight stream, but I do appreciate you, Edie, coming on again. 8 years later, still coming on. Thank you very much. And hope to talk to you again too in the future, Martin. Reach out anytime.
Definitely.
Totally. And yeah, thank you guys very much.
Thank
Well,
you.
I appreciate you having me. But can I mention one thing just really quick?
Yes.
The IBRO is actually having their very first Bigfoot conference in September of this year in Brown County, Indiana. So the website is Indiana Bigfoot Research Organization. Join and you can get the information there, get tickets. It's going to be Indiana's very first big Bigfoot conference. So it's going to be awesome.
Very cool. And I'm sure they'll post that on the IBRO.
Yeah,
Facebook.
it is already up there, and they've got ticket and hotel information and all that stuff up there.
So make it simple. If you guys want to join IBRO Facebook group, go ahead and do that. All that information will be there, and you guys can keep up with what's going on. It's a great community. It's a great place to learn about Bigfoot if you really want to. So yeah, definitely. So thank you, Edie. Thanks everybody in the chat. Thank you, Connie, Fluff Chick Productions for the super chat. And yeah, until next time, you guys. I got a great guest, Katie Page, coming on up soon next month on ufology, and she's a really good guest. She's been on the Travel Channel, Coast to Coast. Really, really good stuff. I'll be talking to her about that, the UFO sightings this past year. So yeah, there you go, you guys.